Good afternoon. Uh, First of all, I introduce myself. My name is Mahesh Shivalekar. I am working as a assistant professor in mathematics at Amiraj College of Institute. Today's lecture topic is fundamental theorem of calculus. First of all, we will take quick review of the lecture. First is introduction. Second one is physical intuition of fundamental theorem of calculus. In the third portion, we will see geometrical intuition of fundamental theorem of calculus. Then after, we formally define fundamental theorem of calculus part 1. In the next part, the chain rule for fundamental theorem of calculus, and after that, at last, we will discuss the fundamental theorem of calculus part 2. Next, we start with the introduction. The fundamental theorem of calculus was discovered by Isaac Bohr, who was a teacher of Sir Isaac Newton. The fundamental theorem of calculus relates two fundamental branches of calculus. One is differential calculus, which arose from the tangent problem, and second one is integral calculus, which arose from the area problem. That's why this theorem is called the fundamental theorem of calculus. This theorem has two parts. In the first part, we show that the integration of a function is the inverse process of differentiation of a function. That means the two processes of calculus, integration and differentiation, are inverse processes. In the second part, gives us the evaluation method of definite integral. Next, the physical intuition of fundamental theorem of calculus. To understand the physical intuition of fundamental theorem of calculus, we consider the physical term speed. Speed is, in the physical sense, the speed is a change of position over time. In other words, speed is the derivative of location with respect to time. The mathematical expression of speed is s equal to dx by dt, where s is a speed, x is a distance travelled by particle, and t is a time duration. This second part, we start with, to understand the physical intuition of fundamental theorem of calculus, we start with trivial example. Suppose the average speed of a car is 30 miles per hour and it travels for 1 hour. Then we can easily calculate the distance covered by car in a trip of 1 hour is x equal to s into dt. S is 30 miles per hour into 1 hour equal to 30 miles. That means car travel 30 miles during its 1 hour trip. This shows that we can calculate distance by using known speed and known traveling time. Now, in the second part, we increase the difficulty of problem. That means, suppose the speed of car is not now constant, it can be varies. Suppose the car start with this speed s1 equal to 6 miles per hour and it maintain that speed for first minute, that means 1 upon 60 hours. So after first minute, the car reach at the position, that is dx1 equal to s1 into dt. S1 is 6 mile per hour and dt is 1 upon 60 hours, which equal to 0.1 miles. That means after 1 minute, car travels 0.1 miles. Suppose in the second minute, at the end of first minute and the second minute, car travels for 12 miles per hour. Its speed is s2 equal to 12 miles per hour, and it maintains that speed for the next 1 minute. So in the second minute or during the second minute, car travels the distance dx2 equal to s2 into dt. s2 is 12 mile per hour into 1 upon 60 hours is equal to 0.2 miles. That means in the second minute, car travels 0.2 miles. So after 2 minutes, the car covered the distance x equal to dx1 plus dx2 equal to 0.1 miles plus 0.2 miles equal to 0.3 miles. That means we can proceed like this for entire duration of trip, and we can calculate the total distance covered by the car. Okay. That means in the second part, when this velocity, the speed is varies, even though we can calculate the distance using speed and the time duration. Now we increase the difficulty of the problem, and in that part the car speed varies very rapidly, and the result may not be very accurate. That means the speed of the car varies very rapidly, then our calculation will not give accurate result. In that case, we need to divide up the time into smaller intervals. It can be divided into 10 seconds rather than 1 minute, or 1 second, or twice a second. So we divide up the time into ever small intervals and sum up the product of speed and time in each of these tiny intervals. Our total sum will certainly approach the correct answer, and which is the total distance travelled by car during its trip. The mathematical description of above discussion is x equal to sigma I SI into dti, where SI is the speed in ith interval and dti is a time duration of ith time interval, which is nothing but integration as dt. But as we mentioned in the first part, the speed is nothing but derivative of distance with respect to time. That means integration equal to dx by dt into dt, and it will give the x. The conclusion of above discussion is that integrating the derivative of position, we can obtain the change in position. That is, integration and differentiation are inverse processes, which is a statement of fundamental theorem of calculus. That means this physical phenomena shows that the integration and differentiations are inverse process. Similarly, in the next part, we will see how the geometric approach shows the or justify the statement of fundamental theorem of calculus. For the geometrical intuition, we consider a continuous function y equal to fx, whose graph is plotted here. This graph is given by the blue line. Each value of x has corresponding area function ax equal to integration 0 to x ft dt. That ax represent the area under the curve fx between 0 and x, which we can see in the graph. The blue shaded portion shows the area ax, that means area covered under the function fx between 0 and x. The area under the curve fx between x and x plus h, we can see the brown shaded slice is the area under the curve fx between x and x plus h can be computed by finding the area between 0 and x plus h, that means 0 to x plus h, and that area subtracting by the area between 0 and x. That means to calculate the area covered by the brown portion can be calculated by the area by subtracting two area. One is from 0 to x plus h and second one is 0 to x, which can be written as a of x plus h minus ax. We have another method to calculate the same area, and in that method we multiply two numbers h and fx. That means h dot fx, where h is the width and fx is the height of the rectangle, which we can see in the graph. In the graph, the fx is the height of the rectangle and this x plus h minus x is a width of the rectangle, which will give us the area of the rectangle. That means we have two different approaches to estimate the same area, and we can compare that two values of area. Then we will get the equation f of x plus f of x into h, which approximately a x plus h minus ax. It is intuitive that the approximation improves as h becomes smaller. That means as h approaches to 0, the value of that the value is given as f of x equal to limit h tends to 0 a of x plus h minus ax divided by h, but which is a definition of derivative of area function ax. That means fx equal to a dash x, which equal to d by dx 0 to x ft dt. That means the derivative of integration of ft dt gives the value of function fx, and the conclusion is that the integration and differentiation of a functions are inverse process. That means this geometrical example also justify the statement of fundamental theorem of calculus, and that one is the integration and differentiation of functions are inverse processes. Now we are going to state the formal state the fundamental theorem of calculus. The formal statement of the fundamental theorem of calculus part 1 is if f is continuous function on closed interval ab. That means there is a one condition on a function f is continuous. F is continuous on closed interval ab, then the capital Fx is defined by integration a to x ft dt is continuous on AB, and the differential on AB and f dash x is equal to fx. This is a formal statement of fundamental theorem of calculus part 1. That means if f is continuous function on AB, then the function capital Fx, which defined as the integral of ft dt, is a antiderivative of function fx. That means f dash x equal to capital F dash x equal to small fx. Now just look at the figure. The figure shows the some geometry of the theorem. The green shaded part is the area under the function ft from a to x, which is capital F of x, and red line shows in the second figure, the red line shows the figure of capital Fx. Now we start with some example. Now camera on the table. just calculate. We are going to calculate some function. Find the derivative of integration 0 to x e raised to t square dt. Here the capital Fx is 0 to x e raised to t square dt. We want to find the derivative of this function, which is f dash x is equal to d by dx of integration 0 to x e raised to t square dt. As we know, the statement of fundamental theorem of calculus says that the differentiation and integrations are inverse processes. That's why these two terms are cancelled and result is e raised to x square. That means now here t replaced by this x and result is e raised to x square. That means derivative of function f 0 to x e raised to t square dt is f dash x equal to e raised to x square. Now second slide. Let's look at this slide. We have a similar example. Find the derivative of fx equal to 0 to x t raised to 4 dt. So the derivative of f is f dash x equal to d by dx 0 to x t raised to 4 dt, and result is, using fundamental theorem of calculus, the result is t replaced by x and it is x raised to 4. Now next example,